Every year there are many real awards that are given out for movies, television, and records, but there's also awards that reward the worst of the worst. While the Oscars are busy honoring the best acting performances of the year, there are other ceremonies that honor the worst acting. And while every year the Nobel Committee honors the geniuses and do-gooders of the world, there are other groups that seek to reward the stupidest and most malevolent nominees possible. In the video today, we're looking at some of the best and weirdest of these joke awards and competitions. Number 10. The Bad Sex in Fiction Award. Before you try and go and get that romance novel you've been working on published, make sure you've put some real effort into writing your love scenes, because if you don't, you might end up winning the Bad Sex in Fiction Award. Put out every year by the British magazine Literary Review, the prize jokingly awards the worst depictions of sex in literature. As the creators say, the award seeks to draw attention to the crude, tasteless, often perfunctory use of redundant passages of sexual description in the modern novel, and to discourage it. The award isn't just reserved for hack writers either. Past winners have included such literary luminaries as Tom Wolfe and Norman Mailer. Winners are presented with a plaster foot each year in a ceremony in London. Most famous winner? This is a matter of opinion, but one of the most egregious offenders has got to be 1997's winner Nicholas Royal, whose book The Matter of the Heart included such steamy one-liners as "She made a noise somewhere between a beached seal and a police siren." Number 9. The Pigasus Award. The Pigasus Award is handed out nearly every year by James Randi, a noted magician, skeptic, and debunker of paranormal phenomena. As he describes it, the award seeks to honor the worst of the charlatans and phonies who claim to have special psychic, magic, or paranormal abilities. Randi has given out the award almost every year since 1982, and there are different categories to honor all varieties of fraud. These include the worst example of pseudoscience, the most fraudulent performer, the organization that funded the most useless study, and the media outlet that reported on the most outrageous instance of paranormal phenomenon. Past winners have included the Montel Williams Show for continually having psychic Sylvia Browne as a guest, and Dr. Colin A. Ross, a Canadian psychiatrist who claimed he could shoot electromagnetic radiation from his eyes. Randi doesn't officially give out the awards. Instead, he claims to send them via telekinesis, saying that if the winners don't receive the trophy, then it must be due to a lack of paranormal talent on their part. Most famous winner? The most notable winner of the Pigasus Award is surely Uri Geller, a UK-based psychic performer whom Randi has lambasted time and time again for being a fraud. In fact, in its earliest incarnation, the Pigasus Award was known as the Uri Award. Geller, who is known for bending spoons and performing other tricks with his supposed telekinetic powers, has even sued Randi repeatedly for slander and libel, with little success. Number 8. The Lanterne Rouge. It's typical to reward the winner of a race, but in cycling there is another more dubious honor called the Lanterne Rouge, which is handed out to the rider who finishes in last place. The French term is translated as Red Lantern and is supposedly a reference to the light that is placed on the back of the caboose on a train. It has become famously associated with the Tour de France, where it has been unofficially handed out every year since 1903. Ironically, the competition to become the Lanterne Rouge has often been as heated as the race for the win, the logic being that, unlike those who finish in the middle of the pack, the last place rider will at least be remembered by the public. This has proven to be true, as the winner of the race for worst place often becomes a cult hero among fans and is able to make a good amount of money from public appearances. This became such a problem that in 1980 the Tour briefly instituted a rule that said the last place rider from each stage would be dropped from the competition. Naturally, riders just raced for second to last in each stage in order to make it to the final day and claim their honor as the best of the worst. Most famous winner? The man who holds the record for most Lanterne Rouge wins is Wim van Servenant, a Belgian cyclist who claimed last place 3 years in a row from 2006 to 2008. He retired after his last win and has supposedly become a farmer. Number 7. The Bulwer-Lytton and Little-Lytton Fiction Contests. The Bulwer-Lytton Award is handed out each year by the English department of San Jose State University. It's a writing prize, but unlike the Pulitzer or the National Book Award, it seeks to honor the entrant who can provide the worst of all possible opening sentences to an imaginary novel. The contest is named after the 19th century novelist Edward George Bulwer-Lytton, whose book, Paul Clifford, opens with the now universally hated sentence, "It was a dark and stormy night." Today, there are tens of thousands of entries every year, each one more convoluted, purple, and hilarious than the next. There are now a number of different categories, and there are even several offshoots of the competition. There's the Little-Lytton contest, which restricts the contestants to 25 words or less. Little-Lytton has become its own phenomenon and has given us such gems of so bad it's good prose as, because they had not repented, the angel stabbed the unrepentant couple 13 times with its sword. This was Graham Swanson's winning entry from 2008. Most famous winner? There's too many great Bulwer-Lytton winners to choose just one, but a personal favorite would have to be Martha Simpson's winning entry from 1985, which read, "The countdown had stalled at T-minus 69 seconds when Desiree, the first female ape to grow up in space, winked at me slyly and pouted her thick, rubbery lips unmistakably, the first of many such advances during what would prove to be the longest and most memorable space voyage of my career." Wow, that's something I never thought I would read. Number 6. The Ernie Awards. One of Australia's famously ironic accolades is the Ernie Award, a trophy handed out every year to the man judged to have made the most sexist remark in the media. The awards were first started in the early 90s by Australian politician Meredith Bergman and are handed out every year at a dinner attended by hundreds of women. The winners are decided by which nominee receives the loudest booing when their name and comment is read aloud to the group. The Ernies are broken up into different categories, so there are separate awards handed out for offenders in the realms of industry, politics, the legal system, the media, sports, and celebrities. There is even an award for the woman who's made the most harmful remark of the year. Past winners of the Golden Ernie, the overall award, have included magistrates, private companies, and even the Prime Minister, while the Silver Ernie has been handed out to such luminaries as Tom Cruise. The most famous winner? One of the most notable recent winners was 2008's champion John Maloney, the mayor of the small Australian mining town of Mount Isa, who remarked that beauty-disadvantaged women should move to his town because its mainly male population did not have very high standards. Number 5. The Big Brother Awards. George Orwell's famous novel 1984 describes a dystopian society where freedom and privacy are non-existent and Big Brother is always watching. The Big Brother Awards, which are presented by the non-profit watchdog group Privacy International, are inspired by Orwell's cautionary view of the future and seek to reward the government agencies, private companies, and individuals who have excelled in violations of our privacy. Nearly every year, a jury of academics, journalists, and lawyers come together to judge who is the worst offender in the realm of surveillance, the illegal collection of data, and the invasion of privacy. The awards began in the UK in the late 1990s, and since then have spread around the world and are now held in as many as 18 different countries, including the United States. Winners have included everyone from Google for its controversial policy of collecting information on users to Vladimir Putin for pretty much anything you can think of. In true tongue-in-cheek fashion, the winners receive a trophy depicting a golden boot stomping on a human head. No word yet on whether anyone has actually tried to collect this one. The most famous winner? Most of the winners of the Big Brother Awards are the types of companies and individuals that tend to fly under the radar, but there have been some rather well-known recipients. One of the most famous from the UK ceremony was Tony Blair, described on the Big Brother Awards website as the smiling puppeteer who received a Lifetime Menace Award in 2005. Number 4. The Stella Awards. Sue-happy Americans have become notorious for frivolous lawsuits in order to make a quick buck. The Stella Awards, which were started by journalist Randy Cassingham in 2002, seek to draw attention to the most absurd and egregious examples of people abusing the legal system. The awards are named after Stella Liebeck, a woman who won a $2.9 million lawsuit in 1992 when she sued after spilling a cup of McDonald's coffee on herself. This lawsuit, though, it seems positively reasonable when compared to most of the Stella Award-winning lawsuits, which range from the greedy and disingenuous to the downright ridiculous. Some examples include an Oregon man who sued Michael Jordan because he claimed the NBA star looked too much like him, a woman who sued Mazda after getting injured in a car accident because they didn't provide instructions regarding the proper use of a seatbelt, and a man who legally changed his name to Jackass and then sued the MTV show of the same name for plagiarism. The most famous winner? It seems like Stella Award winners just get more and more ridiculous with each passing year, but one of the most famous recipients has got to be Christopher Roller, who was 2005's big winner. He sued the illusionists David Copperfield and David Blaine for millions of dollars, claiming that their magic tricks defied the laws of physics and that they must be wielding some sort of godlike powers. As if that wasn't weird enough, Roller went on to claim that he himself was God, and that if magicians were in possession of supernatural power, they must have somehow stolen it from him. Number 3. The Ig Nobel Prize. While the Nobel Prize is busy rewarding its winners for breakthroughs in science, literature, and economics, its smaller and more irreverent cousin, the Ig Nobel Prize, honors people for inventing bras that can be turned into gas masks or extracting vanilla flavoring from cow dung. The awards are a play on Nobel Prize and the word Ig Nobel, which means dishonorable or not of nobility. They are handed out every year by the magazine Annals of Improbable Research and seek to honor discoveries and achievements that first make people laugh and then make people think. The Ig Nobel Prize is known for honoring bizarre and seemingly inconsequential research, but the organizers insist that they are only trying to highlight imaginative work that will encourage public interest in science. This hasn't stopped some from seeing the award as a backhanded compliment. In 1995, the science advisor to the British government asked that British scientists no longer be given the Ig Nobel, as it risked exposing legitimate research to undeserved ridicule. Still, despite any criticisms, the Ig Nobel continues to be one of the most popular, if least prestigious, awards in science. Most famous winner. One of the most famous Ig Nobel Prize winners was the United States Air Force, which won the award for peace in 2007 for its theoretical gay bomb, a device that would scatter female pheromones over enemy soldiers and cause them to become sexually attracted to one another. Number 2. The Darwin Awards. You don't necessarily want to win any of the awards on this list, but you definitely don't want to be honored with a Darwin Award, a darkly comic accolade given out each year to the people who managed to die in the most idiotic ways possible. The awards began as a collection of bizarre stories in the 1980s, but they grew with the rise of the internet, and now they feature a website and a best-selling book series written by Wendy Northcutt. The awards are named after the evolutionary theorist Charles Darwin, who popularized the phrase survival of the fittest, and they seek to honor the unfortunate people who do a service to humanity by removing themselves from the gene pool, most often in a supremely idiotic fashion. This can happen in a variety of ways, from the guy who thought it was a good idea to juggle live hand grenades to the one who decided to use a lighter to look inside a fuel tank to see if there was any gas inside. In all cases, the winners must fit a few criteria. They must be rendered unable to reproduce, either through death or sterilization. The accident also must be their fault. They must be of sound judgment, and the act itself must be notable for its stupidity. There is also a category of honorable mentions for candidates who didn't die but suffered injuries because of their foolishness. One famous example occurred in 2001 when two burglars broke into the house of a professional soccer player and a notorious brawler called Duncan Disorderly Ferguson. Ferguson caught the men in the act, and one of them ended up being hospitalized for 3 days. Most famous winner. There might be no more classic example of a Darwin Award honoree than the lawyer who thought that it was a good idea to test how strong the windows of his 24th floor office were by running at them full speed. As you might imagine, they were not strong enough. Number 1. The Razzies. Actors and filmmakers like to say that it's an honor just to be nominated for the prestigious Academy Awards, but the same cannot be said about the Golden Raspberry Awards, also known as the Razzies, which precede the Oscars by a day and seek to reward the year's worst achievements in film. While the Oscars are busy honoring No Country for Old Men and Meryl Streep, the Razzies are handing out accolades to The Love Guru and Paris Hilton. The Razzies were started in 1981 by John Wilson, a professional copywriter and a movie buff who used to have guests at his Oscar party provide joke nominations for the worst films of the year. Today, as many as 650 judges vote on the worst achievements in cinema, and the awards have become so famous that some celebrities, including Bill Cosby and Tom Selleck, have even gone so far as to accept their honor. The Razzies have often overlapped with mainstream award shows in some unusual ways. One notable example is the film Mamma Mia, which won several Razzies despite also being nominated at the Golden Globes. Most famous winner? The most famous Razzie Award winner is undoubtedly Halle Berry, who won the 2004 Worst Actress trophy for Catwoman only 2 years after claiming the Best Actress Oscar for Monsters Ball. In a legendary display of good sportsmanship, Berry appeared in person to accept her award, and while holding her Oscar statuette in her other hand, she gave a speech where she thanked her director and manager for helping her deliver such a terrible performance. So I really hope you found that video interesting. If you did, please do give us a thumbs up below, and don't forget to subscribe. We've got brand new videos just like this every day of the week. If you want more from me, why not check out something from the archives? There are some videos linked to on the screen, or check out my other channel called Today I Found Out. You will find that linked to below. And as always, thank you for watching.